Order some food.
Period. Time to eat. And we definitely are going to eat today, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first episode of Star Wars Month. Each week, we are going to talk about different aspects of Star Wars. And for this first week, we are talking about A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. So if you're a Jedi or a Sith or anything in between, this is the show for you. And we're just gonna talk about, Star Wars, what it was, what it means to the film, nerd culture, and we're ready to get into it.
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
Like a wise man once said, we're gonna knock him out the box, Luke. Knock him, knock him, knock him, knock him out the box, Luke. You already know. So to all you Vader haters out there, we got a Death Star. But yeah.
God.
So, what was y'all's introduction to Star Wars? Like, how did you get into it?
Well, my introduction was back in the day. See, for those who don't know, back in the day, before Episode One, The Phantom Menace came out, Star Wars actually re-released the original trilogy with CGI and added scenes that weren't in the original versions that came out in the 70s and 80s. So that was my intro because I was like, what, 4 or 5 around that time. I watched the original trilogy. I had like a Luke Skywalker in the orange X-wing jumpsuit and everything. So I kind of was like learning about that, secondhand from me mom and me dad. Luke, I am your father. I knew what that was before I even probably saw Empire all the way and remembered it. But like my first concrete brain sucking, force manipulation experience with Star Wars was going to see The Phantom Menace back in 99 with my brother and my granny. And I don't care what nobody say, and this is one of the perks of being a child. Just watching that movie and just thinking it was so dope. I remember it vividly coming home, recreating the final fight with my brother. We had our rooms was upstairs and we had like a vent on the floor, so we were pretending that vent was the pit that they were fighting around at the end of it, and the space scenes and all of the whole nine. So it started when I was a young boy with the original trilogy and watching that on like VHS and things of that nature, and then leading up to seeing Episode One. That's my Star Wars origin story, and the rest was history, as they say.
I feel like everybody's origin story gonna be like when they was like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and mine is gonna be like when I was a grown ass man.
Then that's a perfect segue for you to go next, then, Mike.
I think because I feel like everybody says that they had an opportunity or was introduced to it when they were younger at a younger age and everything. Honestly, my family talked about it, but I was just like I was watching so much other stuff that was beyond what I wanted to watch at the time. But when I did sit down and watch it, like I said, I think I was like what, my early 20s, maybe mid 20s. And I watched them. Everybody has this a certain way that you should watch it, or this way or that way. I actually watched them 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, the new trilogy. And honestly, I think I really sat down and watched them all when the new movie started coming out, and I went and had my own marathon. I also had a friend who is in the nerdy community who also got me into. We watched. I think I watched the first two with her. But yeah, like it took me until I got into my adult years and middle. But I enjoyed it once I finally sat down and watched it. understood what was going on. I have my favorite trilogies. I have my favorite movies, my favorite characters. So that's how I was introduced to Star Wars.
I can dig it. I mean, wow. I was born in it, molded by it. No,
We're
like
talking
literally, like
Star
it was like
Wars.
beat for beat. It was beat for beat, like with Q over there. Like I grew up with the re-releases, and then I went to go see Phantom Menace. That shit was, oh my god, on the big screen. Oh my gosh, that was just, whew, that you cannot beat that experience of seeing like a Star Wars movie in theaters for the first time. Like you can't beat that. But yeah, no, I had all the toys. You know how it is. I mean, but I really didn't care for Star Wars until I saw Darth Maul. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Like I only cared
That
about the
design, like his
Sith.
design is classic. Like his design is just so memorable. Like the red with the with the black
Right,
zigzag, like with the horns, with the double
iconic.
lightsaber. Like
Ooh, you couldn't tell me anything. I was running around with double lightsaber. Yeah, those are good times. Yeah, I think. Yeah, and what's crazy though, I didn't really. This is gonna sound very ironic. I didn't care for Star Wars though as I got older until I went to high school and my teacher for film class made us watch all six films. The original trilogy and the prequel trilogy back to
Mm,
back, and I was just like, oh, I get it now. Okay.
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
And then
yeah,
when you did some digging, you also learn about some things that you know George Lucas was inspired by, and that was a
yep,
whole nother can of worms.
yep.
That's that Shalamonte joint, right? Was it something I said?
Please come back.
He's the reason I'm
Yep.
finna join the dark side. I promise you. I promise you. Promise you.
Look, you're about to make Eric go choose the wrong side of the force. But I feel like Star Wars, like kids, they understand, like they can understand Star Wars, but I feel like there are just so many adult themes that when you get older, you're like, oh, I understand it now. I get it now. Because, you know, if they did come on TV when I was little, I probably did watch them. But I really didn't really just start understanding Star Wars until I was uh, a sophomore in high school because when I was little, my mom bought us the Phantom Menace on VHS, and me and my brothers we would watch it, but I didn't really know what was happening, what was going on. It was cool, but I just didn't understand like what was really happening. And we watched Attack of the Clones, and then Revenge of the Sith. Because I remember we went to go see Revenge of the Sith in theaters, but I was still kind of like, oh, okay. I'm like, it's cool, but I really was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. But I remember in 10th grade, my English teacher made us watch A New Hope, and we had an archetype assignment, and we had to watch the movie, and we had to pretty much understand what type of characters and like what they were going through in Star Wars. I thought that was a really great reintroduction to it because there is a lot that goes on. Like Aaron said, like even though there were these type of archetypes or these type of characters, these type of storylines were already used, Star Wars really like made them popular. And if you watch any sci-fi movie after Star Wars was made, this is the sci-fi film that they model it off of.
mm.
Like this is the one. Like everyone was like, yeah, I'm gonna make a sci-fi epic. It's gonna be Star Wars mixed with something else. And with this archetype assignment, we understood why, because all the things that the characters go through, everybody can relate to.
Right.
Like everyone can understand that there's good and dark in us. Like we all of us have good and dark. It just depends on what side we choose to act on, and if we can be redeemed. So
Right.
just stuff that people can just relate to, and the story is just so well done. And George Lucas was ahead of his time creating these characters and coming up with these stories. Like he's a madman, but in the best way possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Just listening to all of us just now, just thinking about how we were introduced to it, how we went back to it in our high school, college careers, and then how we went back to it again in our adult, and we all pull something even more from it. I think that just tells you how well the story is done.
Mm.
For us to be able to continue to find something or dig deeper into it and have a nice appreciation for it. I think that's why there are still more Star Wars fans coming out now because you have so much to what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say that word. But so much to take in, so much to consume. That's what I was looking for. So much to consume between TV shows, video games, books, comic books. Like there's so much to consume from it, and there's just like you can just enjoy it as much as you want. So
Facts. And I and I would like just like and when you think about all of the supplementary media, we're gonna touch on it, individually and collectively over the month. But like you think of all of the video games and the cartoons and everything, like you just said, Mike, and how creative they were, because they weren't just simple, here's just a retelling of something you see. They really went above and beyond in expounding on the story in a lot of ways that people hold near and dear to their heart, that just speaks to the staying power of of Star Wars. And I know that's definitely something that has stuck with me.
Thank God for Disney Plus.
Right.
Okay. I mean,
that's how I'm watching. That's how I'm watching the edit, because I'm halfway through majority of the animated series, so I felt like I was gonna choose the month to tackle that. So
which one? Which animated series?
That's the thing. I think I'm watching, but that's the thing. I have a question. So is the Clone Wars series and the Clone War movie, the actual animated movie, are they the same thing? One is just broken down.
I'll go ahead, finish.
I'm about to say one is just broken down into the episodes, and then the other one is just the actual full length movie.
So the clone, you're talking about the CGI one, right?
Yeah, like on Disney, like the series, like the animated series that was on Netflix forever, and then now it's on Disney Plus.
So yeah, the movie of that was originally supposed to be the pilot for the series, but then Lucasfilm was like, let's just make it a movie, put it in theaters. And because we already got the show locked in on Cartoon Network, because that's where it was airing at the time, let's just make it a movie. And that's what they did. But yeah, that Clone Wars CGI movie is essentially the pilot of what was, of the series that followed. But the reason I said which series is because before we got the CGI stuff in 2008, which would then lead into the Clone Wars series, some of people's favorite thing. Back in 2003, after the release of Attack of the Clones, Genndy Tartakovsky, the creator of Dexter's Lab, Samurai Jack, and a lot of other cartoon greats, he was tasked with creating what was called a micro series, the original Clone Wars. And it was basically, when it aired at the time, I remember it because I watched it religiously, and that was another thing that helped me love Star Wars. It was like 5-minute episodes, mini episodes that told like the in-betweens between episodes 2 and 3. And that's another thing, because I rewatched it recently. Well, actually, I rewatched it yesterday in its entirety. It's a 2-hour watch in total. I think that would be something you'll be interested in seeing, because it's not necessary. It's not canon technically anymore, but that's like, it kind of like set the table for what they would end up doing in the CGI Clone War series.
Bet.
You got anything?
I want to watch on tonight when I get done with y'all.
Will you get done with us? Dang, that sounded hard.
No.
He said
he might say when he get done with us. When he get done with us.
No, because I bet no, because I feel like it's yeah, we celebrating. So I feel like we have to watch and consume so much. I feel like my challenges for us this month is to either watch or read something that you have never read. Because I want to read a Dark Vader book. So I've read
It's
the comic, but I want to read a book with him that's starring him. So yeah.
it's funny you say that, Mike, because I already have an idea on that. But it won't be necessarily reading or writing, but it's definitely doing something in Star Wars I've never done before. Let me turn my
Nice.
head a little bit more downwards to make myself look more appealing and take my glasses off too. Let me look into the camera like this.
Oh my god.
Something a little bit
Okay.
more.
Yep. Nope. I'm joining the dark side. I'm joining the dark side.
What?
You know what, Avia? Let's get back on track. This is the ship because obviously Aaron and Mike are trying to derail it. Let's get back into it.
Anyway, the first one, and well, at first it was just called Star Wars, but eventually they renamed it A New Hope. And this one was the one that started it all. And the funny thing is, everyone, including George Lucas, thought this movie was going to flop. People thought this movie was going to flop, but little did they know this is what people wanted. Like this is what people wanted to see because it was so different. It was so out there. Like even though, like I said before, the storylines are similar to certain aspects of mythology and things like that, it was still original in its own right. And just this young this young farmer on this planet finds out that he's destined for something greater, and he has to fight this evil dark being who pretty much decimated uh, pretty much a whole religion. He has to rescue a princess. He has to, work with a rogue pilot, and then he's also has to travel with this older Jedi who pretty much is his first master. It's the first movie just was unique. Like it's definitely, if you're a film person, it's definitely worth studying because even all the effects and everything back then, all the practical effects used are still they still hold up today. Like sometimes they're laughable, but some of the things still stand up. They still stand out today. It's just like a lightsaber. It's just a glowing sword. It's still a staple in anything Star Wars. And it's just like the first movie is just amazing, and the fact that they were able to keep that type of consistency for the first three was incredible.
Yes, indeed. I wholeheartedly and completely agree with that sentiment. It's been a minute since I've seen episode 4, the A New Hope, aka Star Wars OG, aka the original. But I agree on all parts. It's like one of the things that I feel like people acknowledge, but then again don't acknowledge, where they should acknowledge about the original movie. And Avi, I know you're probably gonna know exactly what I'm getting at when I say it, but the score, John
Mhm.
Williams' score in the first Star Wars movie, has set the tone for everything, whether it's the Skywalker suite, that is literally throughout the series, the Imperial March, that Vader's theme, the dun 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 dun. It's kind of weird on a side note that the most iconic piece of Star Wars music is the bad guys theme song, essentially. And that just is it's just so good. And this is gonna sound so corny, but no, it's not, because we're talking Star Wars. We all love Star Wars, and this is probably means a lot to the same, a large amount of people. But every time I hear the Skywalker suite in a pot, like in a moment where it's supposed to be positive and sweeping, or Leia's theme, it brings me to tears now as a Star Wars fan, because I know what it represents. I know what they're trying to relay, the feelings that they're trying to relay, and the just what the tone they're trying to set. So that's kind of my like number one takeaway from the first Star Wars movie is just how it set the tone musically with its film, with the film.
Like sitting, like just seeing when after Luke talks to his uncle, like, I don't want to be here. I want to go to the academy, and uncle was like, no, I need you to stay here for another year to help me, farm. He's like, Luke's like, no, and then he walks out, and me and Aaron always say this from a film perspective. I see you with your Sith suit on. I see you, sir. The whole wardrobe changed to the dark side.
Well, then, if we're going to the dark side, we can go to the dark side.
Right? I had black on.
I guess I'm the only one with the bright color. I guess I'll be a Jedi today. I'll be a Jedi today.
Luke, be a Jedi tonight. Luke, be a Jedi tonight.
But me and Aaron always say, like, each movies need to have that binary sunset moment. Like
some way, somehow, I'm gonna get off of this rock, and then the score in the background.
Right, like he's like, he walks out of his house, out of his hut, and he looks out to the two sunsets, and he's like, I gotta get out of here. Like, I can't be here. I'm meant for something else. Like, I want to be a pilot. Like, that's what I want to do. And it's little moments like that, the back and forth with Leia and Han, even though they can't stand each other, you can tell there's still some sexual tension between the two of them. And it's just,
it's amazing. It's
classic film storytelling.
A New Hope is one of my favorites, top 3, out of the whole entire franchise. Just because of how it introduced, how it introduced Star Wars and the actual characters and everything. The music, like y'all say, is like immaculate. It's just a great feel-good movie, and I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, "Oh, this ain't that bad," as people say, like, because it's long, but it's engaging and keeps you going. It keeps you thinking about what is going to happen next. How are they going to, save the day or whatever? But I definitely enjoyed it. But yeah, top 3 for me. Like, I love A New Hope. That's why I like another one that's way down the line. That's way down the line. And I was like,
you talking about the Star Wars Christmas special?
No.
Not the Star Wars Christmas.
No.
You sure you ain't talking about that?
I'm not, even though did it come out during Christmas?
Yeah. Oh, did it? Because I got a funny story about that movie when we get to it. It did come out at Christmas.
Yeah. It did real well as a junior to this version. But no, New Hope is really, y'all got me wanting to watch New Hope now. Damn. Right.
I watched it this morning.
Mr. Johnson,
good move.
Do you have anything to say about A New Hope, a new white hope, a new black hope?
Perfect. I mean, perfect.
Yes. Carte blanche, incredible, yes. Incredible.
Now, the follow-up, they come back next year just as hard, make just as much impact, if not bigger, with The Empire Strikes Back. And this is the first time we see that Vader he's the bad guy, but he's not the worst of the worst. Like, we see Vader do all these bad things, but he's doing it because of the Emperor.
Yeah,
like, that's what he's doing. So, some of it is self gratification, but for the most part, he's doing it for the Emperor. Because as we learn, with the prequels, we learn that Anakin and the Senator, he
was groomed in more ways than one.
Groomed him towards the dark side. So, and we understand his loyalty. Like, we when you watch prequels, you understand the loyalty between Anakin / Vader and the Emperor. And we get introduced to another character, Lando Calrissian.
Woo! Folks say I look like a young Lando Calrissian. You know what I'm saying? They say if I throw the cape on, I look just like young Lando. What is this? What is going on? I can't speak my truth. I'm sorry, Avery. You know what? Aaron is being very immature right now. I'm sorry. I just had to throw that out there.
Shout out to Billy D, the GOAT. Shout out to Billy D.
Yes,
And also,
sir.
we get introduced to another GOAT who I probably, if not Leia, this character I probably understand the most. And that's Yoda, Master Yoda.
Yes, sir.
Like, he really puts into perspective to Luke, like, what the Jedi religion code is all about.
Right.
With the training in the swamp. Luke, he's understanding what the Force is, and he learns how to use it, and he becomes a threat. He starts to become a threat because Vader can feel the Force. Because like they always say, the Force is strong in this one. Like he can feel the Force in Luke. Because Vader had a very strong. Anakin had a very strong Force around him as well.
Right.
And of course, we get probably the biggest shock value and the most quoted line in film history. We get the notorious line, "No, I am your father." And
That's actually not the
this
line. It's Luke, I am your
oh my
father.
god! You are really getting into your Sith power now.
Oh
Stop
my
it.
God, he is
Stop it.
multiversing right now. That's what he's doing. He's multiversing. That's what he's doing.
Wrong franchise, Mike.
I don't care what I said. What I said.
Anyway.
Oh, well, no, I'll say
Right,
that for
because
after
it
the
comes
show.
out. We on the cusp. We on the cusp.
Right.
Of the Beyonce concert. Of the
We on
Beyonce
the
concert.
cusp.
Of the
We
Beyonce
on the
concert.
cusp. We
You know what
on
I'm
the
saying?
cusp. We on
Are
the
you-
cusp.
But
Go ahead, Avia.
we get that infamous line, and it shocks everybody to their core. Like everyone is like, "What? What?" But
Why did oh my fucking God. I just realized I cut my camera off, but not my mic. What was the point of me doing this?
I'm sorry, but that was so funny just now.
what are you trying to do?
I sneezed and I realized it was going to be a heavy sneeze. So I thought, oh, let me just cut my camera off so they don't see me do it. But then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm very close to my mic. So as soon as I get done, it's going to be very loud in the recording.
But yeah, that shakes everyone to like probably one of the most infamous lines in film history, and everyone uses it, quotes it, and it gave it that shock factor. Because like before this, you'd had no idea that Luke and Vader were ever even related. But if you watch the prequels, the prequels help give us answers about that. But without the prequels, like you're just like, what?
Fun fact: the original script, as told by Mark Hamill, stated that originally Vader was not gonna be Luke's father, but instead the twist was supposed to be that Obi-Wan killed his father, setting up a conflict and distrust between him and Obi-Wan in the third movie. Also, it wasn't established at the time that Leia was Luke's sister, which was the other twist that was done. They just insinuated that, oh, there could be another one because they weren't sure that Luke was the good guy because they were too set on being influenced by that other thing.
Oh
Did I
God.
blow your mind? Did I blow your minds?
Child.
Anyways.
No, good
Next.
fact though. I will say I wish I wouldn't have known. Because like I said, I didn't start watching it. I didn't have my marathon until like my early and mid 20s. I wish I didn't know for years that Vader was his father, and I wish I could have had the shock value. I think most shock value. I don't think I had no shock value with the series just because I knew so much already, just from people and talks. But I wish I would not known that and could have went into it blind.
Just imagine what it was like going to that movie theater in like '78.
Okay.
And like,
I mean,
I can just hear the gas. I can just hear the gas in the movie theater.
the gas went from the front all the way to the back. Like you know that gas was like, like gas.
What was I gonna say? Yes, probably just like compare it to whatever major thing the two Spider-Mans showing up. That's kind of like the reaction, like in a negative way, kind of maybe sort of. That's like the only comparison I can think of. Back in the day, because
you had to bring up that movie. You had to.
Because if we're talking iconic moments in cinema that had people gasping, y'all confront all you want to, but that's not the case. That's an important thing.
I would have to say I did watch, like, for some reason, I don't know, I just watched audience reactions to, like, for some reason, Endgame, when everybody comes back and you see different people, you can hear the audience just like going crazy when certain people come out the portals.
I may or may not have been one of those people at the time of that film releasing, doing those things when I saw that movie. I may or may not have been jumping up and down, cheering at the end of that film when I saw it back in 2019.
I'm about to be jumping up and down.
But one thing about Empire that can't be glossed over is just there's a lot when people make movies nowadays, specifically sequels, there's always a persistent terminology that is used, and that is when they call it the empire of said franchise. Oh, Infinity War is the empire of the Avengers saga, or BVS is the empire of the DC saga, or whatever the case may be. Too Fast, Too Furious is the empire of the Fast and Furious. Basically, what that means is because Empire Strikes Back was so influential. It was such and this, we just talked about how great the first Star Wars movie was, but Empire was such a light year rather, jump in quality and stakes and storytelling that people use this film as a litmus of how great a sequel can be. It's like the holy trinity of sequels: The Dark Knight, T2, and Empire Strikes Back. You stretched it out even further. You have things like The Godfather Part 2, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. What did I say something bad?
No, I love Lord of the Rings.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
No,
Too Fast, Too Furious. I mentioned that. Shrek 2, Toy Story 2.
I know it's not I know it's more of a franchise as opposed to a trilogy, but Harry Potter, like the Chamber of Secrets.
See, I found out folks hate on Chamber of Secrets, which I don't like, because that was my first
It's
Harry
a better
Potter movie.
sequel. I mean, it's still a great sequel. It's a great follow-up. Like
it's a bomb follow-up, just because that first one, especially when I can't watch the first one because it's like it's just so it's the original. I get it, it's like original, but I love, like I said, 4 is my favorite, but 2 is probably top 3 too, only because you get to see them come back and deal with new circumstances and how do they deal with those circumstances and actually get maybe even 85% more character development with each person. So
because Leia's character development, from the jump, like she's a boss, she's a princess, but she shows she's more than a princess. Like she's a leader.
Yeah,
because you see her just giving commands, saving Han and Luke's neck, when they're in the trash compactor, when they're trying to rescue her, she actually helps them, and it's just and I just hate that they gave her that outfit in Return of the Jedi. I'm like, that's how y'all do my girl.
R.I.P. to Carrie Fisher.
R.I.P. Carrie Fisher. R.I.P. the GOAT.
God, Return. When we fully jump in, unless we're doing it now, but
whenever we can go into it, unless y'all have some final thoughts on
good sequel, bomb sequel.
Yeah, trivia. Just a couple more pieces of trivia. Harrison Ford was always pushing for Han to die after the first Star Wars movie, so him being in Carbonite was meant to be like his death, but it didn't stick, so that's why he ended up coming back. Like I said, George even though technically George Lucas didn't direct Empire or Return of the Jedi, he literally only directed the first one, but he stayed on as a consultant for the next two films. Boy, did he fucking hate working on those two movies because he felt like the studio was asking too much, taking too much stuff out, and it just wore thin on him personally. So he was making decisions to, in Star Wars at the time. He was just making decisions that he thought the studio was going to hate. And then like, all right, this is the last Star Wars. We're not doing any more of this, because he felt like the movie was slipping out of his hands, more or less, the franchise rather. So yeah, Luke wasn't necessarily being like set. Like at the end of Empire, I think, there's interviews where Mark and George are like, yeah, at the time we did it, we weren't sure that Luke was going to be the ultimate good guy. We were like setting up like maybe he's not, maybe this was just a mistake and that there's actually someone else. And Leia, we'll get into it when we talk about Return. Leia was not intended to be the, when Yoda says no, there is another, it wasn't intended for her. And the most important factoid that I'm gonna drop is that it was not until Return that they decided on Luke and Leia being siblings. When they was kissing in the first two, it was still intended to be seen as a love triangle between he, her, and Han Solo. And it wasn't until Return of the Jedi that they settled on them being siblings.
Oh, that's too much.
It is. It very much is.
That's almost on some Lannister stuff.
Okay, like
I mean, that's probably how they get down Tatooine. So
yeah. I remember when
I
when I first heard that, I'm like, so that's why that shit was so awkward in the first two. And it's like, oh, it was like very exposition heavy in episode in Return, where like, oh no, we're twins actually. So and then George would then subsequently hand wave it like, oh well, they just take it as, man, wasn't that weird when you kissed me twice and we're siblings? That's so weird, dude.
But Return of the Jedi did it. It ended their story before we knew that they were going to make, the sequels, and it's changed because normally Luke wore white. He wore his white farmer outfit in the first one, and he wore his little white pilot outfit in the second one. And in this one, he wears black. And I feel like that's a good contrast because it shows that, he understands the light of the Force, and with the revelation of who his father is, he understands the dark side of the Force. And I feel like that's an interesting contrast. That's one of the themes in Return of the Jedi that I always found interesting.
Yep. One of the things that because there's Return has a lot of deleted scenes in it that, well, all of the goddamn Star Wars movies have a lot of deleted scenes in them, for one reason or another. But well, the one that's most interesting to me is like the original beginning of Return, and it's like shows Luke creating his on Tatooine as the squad is scoping out Jabba's palace now that they know where Han is, and like essentially he's in the cave building his green lightsaber, and like this is before the concept of Jedi making their lightsabers with the Force. He's making it by hand, and just to piggyback off of what you said, Avia, like that whole concept of Luke coming to grips with his heritage but still being a Jedi, I interpret that, thinking about it in the original sense, green is represented because there's only two colors at the time, red and blue. So I'm thinking green was more of a representation of him, like the lightsaber representation of what you said, instead of it being full Sith red or what was perceived at the time full blue Jedi. This is somebody who understands the balance of the Force, and his colored lightsaber represented that. So that's just my little my
I'll take it from
little
here.
observation, or you know what I'm saying, my
I'll
little
take it from here.
observation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's great. Dig on this, y'all. Dig on this. Let's get into it. Let's like really get into it. We hadn't like gotten into what I'm about to get into in a minute. Okay. So you know, for people who believe in karma, dharma, spirituality, new age isms, the colors blue, red, and green associate different chakras. If you are about that Avatar Last Airbender lifestyle, you know about them chakras.
Yeah.
And the blue chakra is the third eye, which is using your higher mind, while the red is the root, which is using, the lower part of your body, which is like very rugged, so it's always mind over matter, basically. While green represents heart chakra, which is a true balance. So, right there, you have the idea of Luke saying, I'm not going to be completely of mind, I'm not going to be completely brute force, I'm going to use my heart. And that is the true way of the Jedi. See that right there? That's your concept. Also, the fact that he went from white to black represents the ideas of yin and yang, which is what I know George Lucas was getting into with the Sith and the Jedi. So the whole idea of yin and yang being, your higher self versus your lower self, as above, so below. You got the whole idea of like the demonology with the Sith, and like all of that. It just is really cool stuff. And it's just like the force, that's your higher self, that's transcending and understanding a concept that's above yourself and how you want to use it. And if people can use it for good, people can use it for bad. And it's like you have the whole like you can even say it's like angels and demons at some point with the way these people were moving around, because you look at how it everyone who followed the Sith, physically they were torn apart in some shape or form. Like it, some
Shattered.
heavy
They all
concepts.
do look misfigured. If you think about it, Palpatine, he was all fucked up in the face.
Okay.
What was Dooku's?
And
He just got old.
who's the one in the new
He's an old
sequel
white
that
man.
Andy Serkis played? The one that Andy Serkis played in the new sequels.
Oh, Snoke.
Snoke Jobberson.
Yeah, Snoke.
Yeah.
He was all fucked up in the face. We saw
Yeah.
what happened to Anakin when he was fighting Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith. We saw what happened to him. So yeah, that's a good. They all are torn apart in some shape or form.
And that speaks on if you follow a darker path, aka the left hand path, then you're going completely off of what's in the physical realm as opposed to the higher realm within your mind. And ideas like whatever scars you get, that's just it is what it is. It's all there, y'all.
And
And how
also
I
remember, Luke got his hand cut off.
is righty, which
And he
was
was always tempted.
yeah. And isn't it ironic now that we bring up that concept, how Anakin lost both hands? He lost his right during the Clone Wars, and then he lost his left when he transformed into Vader. Therefore, even though this is all technically retroactive, because but we don't care about retroactivity. We care about what now. And basically, that's already alluding to his place in the balance, bringing balance to the Force, because even though he was a Sith Lord, he still had the ability to understand. He still had the capacity to turn to the light side, to throw Palpatine's ass down the power shaft to the Death Star 2, which may or may not have been for naught, depending on your perception on a later Star Wars movie, which boy, oh fucking boy, we're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So was Vader Archangel Michael?
Yeah, it's possible.
Can I be Frank? Frank Sinatra. Can I be Frank Sinatra, and then I'm gonna let Mike jump in. Because I know he got some.
Ain't no problem.
Still, I'm gonna let you jump in. I don't look at Star Wars is one of the few fictional properties that have an active dogma that I don't tie into traditional religious beliefs, right or wrong. But the reason I don't is because I still think that conceptually there is a lot they could do with their concepts that they have done in other various medias and still haven't done in others, that is still kind of untapped. One of, and this is kind of something I'm going to touch on, in my, some videos. I got some cooking and me noodle up here, but so you have your concepts of the old Republic era Siths, where there was no rule of two, where there was just a bunch of Sith lords running around, and how that was perceived and how that's been established in previous canon, and how that inevitably crumbled under the original Sith Lord that established the rule of two, which is, for those who don't know, as once the Great Sith Civil War happened, they decided that there can only be two Sith Lords at a time, because any more than two would cause a power rift, because Siths ultimately want power, etc., etc. The concept of gray Jedis who do not follow the traditional mindset of the Jedi Order and what they stood for. They lean more towards, basically, as I call them, fully functioning Force users. They're not, they don't cut themselves off from attachments or things like that. That was the concept that Colin Trevorrow was going to mess around with in his original idea for episode 9. And then, like, in more recent times, just regular Force users who don't fall under the Sith or Jedi umbrella at all. Your Knights of Ren, other characters in Star Wars that have that. So I always feel like there's so much left on the table that it would be kind of hard to just fit them into our religious boxes that we have to kind of understand it, because maybe they're going to
We're
go
gonna have to
to
do a separate episode.
indeed.
I
We
feel
need to
like
do a
it's
separate
more.
episode
I feel
about
like it's both religion and but I do feel like
But
the
see,
main thing is like politics, like who runs this and
yeah,
who's in charge and who's at the bottom of the totem. And I feel like it's a lot of that deals when I watch Star Wars. There's a lot of like politics that going on, but I do feel like there is some religious aspect with it as well. I mean, look how
but you
you
got to
broke
do
down the
more than just
astrology.
Christian dogma. You got to do more than just
Yeah,
Christian
more than
dogma,
that,
and that's what
but
we
you
have to
just
do. We got to look into that.
oh yeah,
There's
definitely. I mean,
something
look
there.
how you just broke down the whole astrology of it and
Mhm.
chakras.
That nice astrology that Star Wars is very much known for, and the great chakra that is also endued with. What did I say this time, Aaron? What did I say this time? Because I look up and you switch the camera off. I'm literally just saying exactly what my go ahead, because this is looking like I'm, but
No,
some
I think
phase
he has
10
no. I
feelings
think
are
he's
carrying over.
dealing with something. That's not like
I'm thinking some phase 10 feelings are carrying over from
oh,
yesterday.
child. I mean, you won
Uh,
last night. It's okay.
No,
Like
that's not what I was told, but that's a conversation for another day on some feelings about my phase 10 victory
no,
that
but I feel
apparently.
like there's a lot of layers with Star Wars that can be tackled and discussed and broken down. But as a whole, I think it has done well with all the properties that it has. I mean, that's even if you've watched all the movies, read all the books, even the comic books. I feel like there's in some shape or form they have a lot of layers that deals with this franchise.
Facts. Shout outs to the Ewoks on Endor. What is
it's just like this is like if you're a filmmaker, like this is if it's definitely if you dabble in sci-fi, like if sci-fi is your niche, this is the type of film that they always try to replicate
yes.
in any shape, form, or fashion, whether it's the type of characters, the type of storyline. You will find some type of Star Wars inspiration for any type of sci-fi epic or just even an epic film in general.
Yes.
Personally, from my studying wise, one movie from each franchise is on my list.
Facts.
Just and it's crazy because it makes a trilogy. So one, 3, maybe no. So yeah, 1, 3, and then
You mean
6.
4? You mean 4?
Well, 4, yeah, 4, 3, and 6.
I'll be honest with you.
You
I'm
mean
gonna
9? 4, 3, 9.
when we talk about when we go into the new trilogy and the spin-offs in the spin-off films,
Mm-hmm.
I think Rogue One is up there as far as one of the best Star Wars films.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
I
this
agree.
is my favorite because you don't have, even though Skywalker is ingrained in the Star Wars franchise, it showed that you can tell a story without using the Skywalker name and without there being any type of Jedi or Sith involved at all. Like, because it's bigger than them. Like, the Star Wars
Right.
is bigger than just Jedi's and Sith, and that's what I really appreciated about Rogue One. Like, the not so special people are the special ones, and I'm
Yes.
like, and there was something about that was like ordinary people help save the Empire,
Right.
not just one dude with the lightsaber. Because if it wasn't for them, Leia would have never would have gotten the plans. They never would have. Luke and his uncle would have never found R2D2 and 3CPO. Like, and none of that would have ever happened if it wasn't for them. And that's why I really do. I'm gonna say this, when we talk about, but yeah, Rogue One is definitely up there.
Yeah.
Also,
I
Mike,
enjoyed that one.
put Star Wars Rebels on your watch list, because that is also a pretty importante. After Clone Wars, absolutely watch Clone Wars first, then watch Rebels, because that's pretty important, especially when we talk about the spin-offs of Star Wars. And of course, we all done seen The Mandalorian. I think maybe, have we?
I need to rewatch it though.
I'm halfway through season 2. But I enjoyed it just because, I mean, like another thing that I enjoy is that you can still tell other stories without having the main, component of what the franchise is.
Yes, indeed. All I'll say, without spoiling anything, is, and this is season 1, but Rick Fumi, give him a Batman movie based off his episode, just solely based off of the episode he did in season 1. But then again, they screwed him over with his Flash movie, and look where we at now. So maybe I'm spitting into the wind. But yeah, Return of the Jedi, it definitely was. It for the original trilogy, it definitely wrapped everything up. Definitely finished the storylines of father and son, forgiveness, overcoming the dark side, and established one of the most key aspects of being a Jedi, in that to be a Jedi, it's not about what sometimes you have to throw your weapon down. That's being a Jedi is not about how powerful you are or skillful you are with the lightsaber. It's about trusting in the Force and allowing that to guide you on your destiny.
Period.
So, Avia.
Yes.
Seeing as you're the proverbial captain of this proverbial Millennium Falcon, going out throughout the proverbial multiverse of Star Wars content, let these folks know one more again what we got going on this month.
So our next episode is going to be the prequels. We're going to talk about the prequels, which Aaron will lead that discussion.
Woo!
And next episode, we're going to talk about the sequels, and then the spinoffs. Like Rogue One, the Han Solo film, those films.
Can I do the spinoffs? Can I lead the spinoffs?
That's up to Mike.
Oh, see, that's me, because I'm thinking Mike already locked in the sequel trilogy, because I know he's been alluding to it the whole night. I thought you locked that in.
It's very Sith of you.
Huh?
We can do it together.
No.
Yeah, do it together.
I mean, I didn't want to, because I legitimately
we can do it together, because we can do it together.
All right, so you got the sequel trilogy, and then we just gonna tag team spinoffs.
Yeah.
Okay. Or did I just fuck that up
And then,
again? Or did I just say? Because I didn't. Because I'm like, I didn't. I literally was like, oh, I like, oh, so that's why Mike's been alluding to the sequel stuff all night because he got that.
Because the only reason I just said the sequel trilogy is because those movies are the first time that I actually got to see them in theaters. So that was that for me. And then, a lot of people do not like that whole. So for me, after getting caught up, I'm like, but this is, for me, it's just like, it's enjoyable. I like it, So I felt like I felt the most closest to that just because I got the experience. Those are the only ones that I got the experience in theaters besides Rogue One and then watching the new spinoff series shows on Disney Plus. But those movies are the only ones I got to see in theaters. I didn't get to see everything else in theaters.
Okay, so you know what? Since you already was locked in on spinoffs and I erroneously thought otherwise, you got spinoffs, and I'll do the sequel. I'll lead the sequel trilogy because I got some thoughts.
God help us all.
Wait, you gonna take sequel trilogy still from me?
You took it from him. You took it from him.
I thought you said you had spinoffs.
No.
Oh, he had sequels. He had the sequels. He had the sequel / spinoffs. He had both sequels and spinoffs.
Look.
See, but no, look, y'all. They didn't tell me who had what. They said that, we're gonna doing this. I thought we are gonna be doing all four of them collectively with Avialine. I didn't know that there is designated things chose because they said we doing Star Wars month. I said, bet, tell them to say less. I don't need to know nothing else specific. Y'all said we doing Star Wars month. I'm on board.
And then so next week after that, it's the TV shows. It's the TV shows the last week. Because Obi-Wan should be coming out around that time. So it's the TV shows.
Okay, so we'll tag team, me and Mike will tag team spinoffs, and I'll just do shows then. Because I guess I have some thoughts about those two. Unless somebody else had TV shows and then I renounced that statement. I don't see. I don't know. I thought I was saying something right, and y'all didn't. I thought I was claiming something that was. I thought I thought we was good. Let me look at this list. I downloaded this list, and it shows. Let me go look at this list in my phone. Yeah, I got 4, and it's like, y'all tell me what to do. Okay,
look at him trying to deal in absolutes like a Sith.
See, this is carrying over. See, let me give y'all a little behind the scenes goings on here with us. You see, last night in phase 10, your boy got a dub. The first dub, didn't brag about it.
Oh, you kidding me? You put it all over the timeline. All the timelines, sir.
I went for that specific game. I just put.
He lying, Your Honor. He lying.
It's all over the TL. He was not humble at all.
Y'all will not.
It's lies, Your Honor.
No, ma'am.
Y'all will not.
No.
It's lies, Your Honor.
Lies.
So y'all are silencing me now.
A bold face lie.
Silence.
So order 66 in my way.
Order in the courtroom. I order it. It's court mandated. It's court mandated.
He lying, Your Honor.
What I'm lying about? What I do? What I didn't do?
Saying you weren't. Saying you didn't brag about.
I just put a tweet out saying I won. That's tradition.
Wait, because he been itching to beat us.
What? We all put whenever we all win in phase 10.
I didn't put my win out.
I had to put mine just to show. Just
Avia won 4 times in a row, and every time she won, she had a tweet out.
Did I do that? Did I do that?
No.
Aaron was out there putting tweets out. So
I mean, I could have put that tweet out when I whomped y'all, whop, back to back.
And then I didn't even say nothing slanderous. I just said presented without context, tagged y'all. And then I look in the chat. I'm being told I'm having slurs tossed my way. And then I'm getting, and then there's Tom and Jerry beans choking me, telling me to get back. Like I'm running from y'all. I ain't never run from y'all in the game, and I'm being addressed like I was trying to run off on a victory.
What happened when you played, Jay?
I lost, and that was okay. Just like how all them times I lost the
anyway,
that was okay. But then I get skipped 800 times in a row in the second game out of the blue. I'm still on phase 1. I'm just collecting my cards. Boo doo doo doo. Skipped. Mike, it's Mike's turn. He skipped me too. Then after the next rotation, Aaron, he skipped me. Then Avia skipped me twice. I'm having a fight for my life, but it's still okay because I fought hard. I played well with my friends, and that was cool. But I don't appreciate how some people, they know who they are, said that my win didn't count and that they were not going to acknowledge it. We
never said that.
We collectively did not, but that person know who I'm talking about. That person know what they said to me.
Avia, can you wrap this up, please?
Look out.
Anyways, y'all, one day for more diversity gaming, y'all will see us play Phase 10 if we can somehow manage it and see all the chaos that goes on while we play Phase 10. But anyways, thank you for tuning in. Happy Star Wars Day, and may the 4th be with you, everyone.
4th life. Yay.